Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Code Genius Ria. So, we have now done some initial setup and now it's time to actually start writing out a service for this initial implementation. We are not going to worry too much about microservice or anything like that. We are really just going to put together some very basic functionality for the post and comment services. So, in other words, some very basic Express.js code to manipulate or deal with some very basic resources. We are going to first begin with our post service. Like whenever we start designing a service or putting it together, it's really worth to time to think very critically about exactly what you want your service to do. So in our case, we know that we want to create a post and list all posts. So, well, let's get a little bit deeper technical detail here and really understand what this thing need to do. So in our post service, so here's my thought for the post service. Like I think that we need to have a single route that's going to be in charge of retrieving all the different posts that have ever been created. I think we also need one distinct route that has in charge of creating a new post. So we will have one route for post. If we will make a get request to it, we will get all of our post. We will have another one of the post if we make it post to it with some body that has a title that is a string type. We are going to create a new post. So that's what we are going to use as our guide for implementing our post service. So we have like two methods, post and get. Whenever we are trying to create something, we use the post. Whenever we want something, then we use the get method. So for creating a new post, we are using the post method, and whenever we use to create now, we have to be some body. So inside of it, we are going to use a title of type string. And for type retrieving all the posts, we want something. So we use get method, and whenever we use get method, we don't need any body. So inside of our post directory, we are going to start to build out a very small Express application that's going to implement these two routes inside post terminal. So let's get back to terminal. First of all, open the command prompt and inside of it, go to block directory and inside of it, you need to go to post. So inside of post, whenever you need to open the code editor to write the code, use code dot and press enter. It will load and open the editor. So you can see here my VS Code has been opened. So make a new file inside there, index.js. Go to the post and then make a new file, index.js. It will take a minute. And then at the very top, we are going to get access to Express. So we are going to create a new Express application. We are going to set up these two different route handlers that we have just discussed. It's all going to be some pretty straightforward Express related stuff. So we will use const express equal to require express. So I am using this line whenever to require express in our project. After this, what I want to use my application the use of express. So for creating a new app, so I will use const app equal to express. So in this way we can use the express in our application. After that, I'm going to associate these two different routes with the app and what I just want, like we have just created, and we will do like app.get my post service like post, and inside of it I am going to use like request and response. So here what I will do, I will make request comma response and using the arrow function, and that's it. Here introduce the comma. So inside of it I will write the code. So this is for the post service, and one is like this is for get and one is for post. So I will do app.post, and inside of it I will make the post service like post comma request comma response, because I want any like whenever I request come go, I want irrespective response. So that's why we create request and response. And then at the bottom we want that my express application listens on a very specific port. So I will use app.listen and I will mention the port, that is 4000 comma, and then I want to provide a message that it is listening. So console.log and listening on 4000. After that, so this is some like initial setup that we have done. So now let's start to implement these two different route handlers. So I mentioned earlier that we are not going to worry about any database or anything like that with these different services. So we are going to store all these different resources in memory. The downside of this approach is that anytime that we restart a service, we are going to lose all of our data, but that's okay for our initial little project. Right after I create my express application, I am going to make a little object that's going to be in charge of storing all the different posts that just created. So for that I am going to use like const post. So this is like the in charge for storing all the different posts that just created. So that's so an empty object like so. So this object is where we are going to store every post that we create. Now that we have got all this kind of repository for all the different posts we are going to store, we can start to implement the first route handler that's going to retrieve all the different posts and that have been created very easily. So inside of app.getPost, what I'm going to do in response what I want my all the posts that have been created. And like we have sent post in response, now if anyone make a request to post, we are going to send back all the posts that have been created. Next thing we have to do is make sure that we implement the ability to create a new post. So if we have to add in some implementation for the post request handler to /post, remember that we probably want to eventually have some ID associated with every poster that just created. Right now we don't really have an ability to create an ID of any sort. So let's add in a little bit of code to randomly generate an ID. So when someone make a post request to post right here with the intent to create a post, we are going to randomly generate an ID, assign it to the object that the user just created, like sent to us, and then store that entire thing. So for that I am using like const random bytes. It should come inside the curly brackets, and we are going to require it from the crypto for generating the random IDs. After that, at the top of the file, like I am going to add require statement for random bytes for from the crypto package. This is to generate random ID. We are going to assign it to the post that user is trying to create. And inside of my app.post, I am trying to create a random ID, that const ID with the help of this random bytes, I am going to use like 4.2 string. This it will help me to create like a string of length 4 and it of type hexadecimal. Okay, so I want 4 bytes of random random data. So this is just to get a random string for us. We use .2 string hex. It will give random ID something like suppose um suppose 5 L K 3 J 4 J P I A J4, like something like this. So it will be like of type hexadecimal. Okay, so the now after that what I want is, now next thing we are going to do is like take a look at the request that we just received from the user, that is request. Remember, we are making the assumption here that whenever a user makes a post request, so like to this route, they are going to send along a body. So that has a title property inside of it. So we are going to pull out the title. We are going to generate that or take that random generate ID and then store them all together inside of a post object, that is we have created const post. So let's access to the title that the user just sent to us, let's say request.body, then add in a new ID that we just generated on our post and we will assign to that ID and title. And then finally let's send back a response to user manually status 200 and send back to it, which again is the post that we have just created. Also, you can send message in console to check functionality working fine. So inside of this, like we have created this random ID. So we also want the title, because we are assuming that in post a title of type string is sending. So request dot body, and then after this what I want is that my post, it should have a associated ID and inside of it I should get my ID and title. Okay, and in response what I want is status to get like everything is fine. So I will use result dot status of 201 dot send in response of respected post ID. So we need to make sure that we add in a body parser to make sure that whenever user sends us some JSON data in the body of a request actually get passed, and so it actually show us appropriate inside of a request handler. So just little bit of administration work with Express at the top of a file. I am going to add in a request statement for body parser. So I will use const body parser, and inside like I want to require it with the body parser. After that, like at the right after we generate our application, we will do an application use body dot body parser dot json. So I want to use app dot use. So I'm going to use app dot use body parser dot json, and after that so this code implement all of the code for both the route as discussed. Add script in the package.json file to start the project and remove the default script. So I am going to remove this. After that, to start, I am going to use a start script. For that, I am going to use like nodemon index.js file, and now go to the post terminal and do npm start. So here, so you can see the message that it is listening on port 4000. So okay, so that's how like we have created our first post service with the following two routes. So what we have simply done is, first of all, we need the express in our application. So we have require express, and then to use in our application, we have like use const app equal to express, and we need two routes. First is for get. So in response, we want all of the post, but when we use get method, we need to pass the body. So what I have done is, for getting the like post, we have to be some identification who have sent the like posters. For that, we have used the id. For randomly generating random like ids, I have used random bytes. Like from the crypto, it will generate a random byte of like a length 4 and hexadecimal type. And we want the title in the like whenever someone is going to send like a post, we want the title. So we have like in the request, we have sent the title, and whenever a post is created, a id and the title will send to it. And in the response, we are going to set a status 201, that is like everything is fine with a post id. And we are going to use like app.use body parser.json, so that in response we can get a json file. So that's why I use app.use like json file. And to get like the port number for listening our request, we are using like app.listen, and we are in the console, we are putting a message that listening on 4000. I hope you will get the point. Thank you.